Hey guys, what's up? It's Evan Rogers. Welcome back to Next Up. Today I'm joined by Ray, and we're super excited to get into the topic of how do I work for myself as a creative, which is something that we've indirectly, I feel like, talked about through social media, and we've worked on a project together hoping for a bunch more. But I think that topic specifically, I'm really trying to focus this show in on what people our age are kind of thinking about their careers as we're like building them up and trying to figure out, like what is the space that we land in. And in film, for us, that's something that's like really interesting for a lot of people, is they're wondering, like, should I go and get a full career job? Like, should I work as an editor at a startup for 9 to 5 stuff and kill myself, which is where I just came from, or should I go do my own thing? So like, I wanted to hear your perspective on like that whole thing and how you decided to kind of do your own thing. And
okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate it. And I do think this is an important topic because we are in a very interesting time period to where we are in this I want to own my own business time period, and I don't want a boss, like I don't want to work for the man time period. So it's very interesting when it comes to film. So to kind of answer your question about how you can work for yourself, I think that the first thing to establish is your budget, your life budget, because you want to make sure you're pulling in money, because there's a lot of things that we have to pay for. And I have a child. I have a daughter that depends on me too. So it's a ton of stuff you have to pay for. So don't just go jumping in and saying, I quit, I'm going to go do this. You have to first establish your budget and your lifestyle budget. And then I think that you should establish your worth. And then you should kind of calculate, how, if I do this job this month, I'll be able to bring in this amount this month, So I think it's a whole balancing act, but I would not give the advice to quit your job and go full-fledged into production unless you have a huge financial backing behind you. So did I answer your question a little bit? Because
totally.
I can definitely go more into
it. I was going to totally support that, because I think I actually am in a position right now where I've actually defaulted into it after losing a job and now figuring out what that next move is. And I feel like that's pretty acceptable when you're trying to figure it out, trying to find your next full-time, whatever it is, right? But that's what's super interesting is like you get a lot of the people, like you said, in this like gig economy that decide they're just going to leave and go do their thing. But then if you're living here, if you're living in LA, it's really tough to make ends meet and everything costs so much money, and like you're living downtown, whatever. I think for me personally, I just never really thought through how much you actually have to have, your independence when it comes to financial, means, especially like you said, you're supporting your child, and I'm supporting a wife now, and I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, I can't just make the move and be going and doing $200 jobs. Like you have to know your pricing. You have to, right? Like that's kind of been something super interesting for me. But I also wanted to speak to like, having and finding your voice and how that tunes into kind of making the move to doing your thing. And we mentioned before, you have a full-time job, but you're making all of this stuff on the side, and might I say you're doing a ton of it.
Thank you.
Which is great. And you push product and do the whole thing. But what, as a part of like who you are, Ray, like what your mission is toward like why you choose to do film even on the side, and why you might eventually make it your full time and stuff.
Yeah, so you are absolutely right. I basically have 2 full-time jobs. Literally, I do film full-time and then I do research full-time. I'm a researcher. So, and I'm on the cardiology team, so that's research on kids' hearts. But so I think that the reason I chose to hop into film is to basically tell the stories. As a woman and as a Black woman and as a Black person, there's often stories that are told about us that are not necessarily from us. So the story can get misconstrued, and that's my goal, just to hop in and tell stories. And also, I also love to just touch people, like have a positive impact in anyone's life. That's really my goal. And that's what's driving me, quite honestly. Of course, I would love to like make it my full time and make money and be very comfortable. But as of now, that's the 2 things that are driving me. Really to let our stories be told and give people that look like me chances to showcase their talent. So
for sure. And I'll plug Early Bird too, and the stuff that you guys are doing over there is really important. And, I think like you just said, representation is really important, especially in film. And I think we have such a unique ability and like honor in a way to be able to tell different people's stories, and that we're able to give voice to a lot of things that need to be spoken of. I'm totally in support of that, because I just feel like in general, it's tough when you put somebody that's not been through a situation into making a product. I know you probably speak to that, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough.
It's actually quite funny, because I was just talking to my brother, he's a writer, and we were talking about something that was supposed to be based in like Louisiana, and in the story, no one had the Louisiana accent. So it's kind of like, we know who wrote this, like someone that wasn't from Louisiana clearly are casted.
I want to do something there, but I don't.
Yeah. So like that's so important, because when people are viewing the film, they want to feel like it's them, like they want to feel like they go through this. And I believe that's how you create a good story, is by making sure the audience, you put them in the driver's seat of the story. So yeah.
And thinking, right? It's like using it seems weird, but like so much of art is expression based, right? Like we really put ourselves out there as who we are into the art.
Yes.
And everything we do from pre-production to production to post is all about that. But then again, like by the same token, we are trying to, like I was mentioning before, we're trying to actually tell other people's stories, and like putting ourselves into those people's heads and figuring out what they would think or what they would say. But I think a lot of filmmaking is like actually using your brain to actually think. It's not just an emotional connection, right? Like
that's very true.
You need to plug in and like you're saying, even on the practical side of making it happen, thinking through like, yeah, this is an expression for me and something I want to chase, but it's also like my livelihood in my life. I have to think about that too.
Yes,
right?
you definitely have to think about that. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I battled with, and I kind of still do, but I actually like put my foot down. I was like, I'm not doing any more free jobs. Like, I'm at least going to get gas. But you have to balance it out, because when you're first starting out, you might have to do some free jobs, But I think at our point of our careers, it's time to pay ourselves. At least gas.
Dude, yeah.
And at least for your time. So.
Of course. Well, yeah. And I mean, I so appreciate you doing something like this, but I feel like there's opportunity, like when we see opportunity as you're a producer yourself, I'm actually trying to land more in that space as well, where I'm looking and you're looking at the product as a whole and how you can add value to it and bring the right team, assemble the right team around you, right?
Exactly.
But you're also thinking like, I always measure opportunity based on, in financial and the balance between the two, like you were just saying. Some freebies are really like necessary for you to meet a connection of, if you're on bigger sets or whatever, meeting with people you've always wanted to work with. But then, yeah, like there is something to be said about charging well and charging correct. And it's like that good, fast, cheap thing. Like I literally just talked about that.
I love that. Yes, I just talked to Streety about that. I just talked to him about that. Like you can't have you can't have good, cheap, and fat. Like it just doesn't make sense. So
and like how does it materialize into the product you give out? And I know you probably think about this all the time as a producer, is you're always looking toward that end product and like what you're giving back to your client, or if you're making it for yourself. Maybe that's a question I should ask you right now, is like, what is your experience as far as like being a service for somebody creating something versus putting yourself in and making your own story? Like, what do you prefer? Do you have a space that you like to work in more?
Oh, so I hope this answers your question. So can you just repeat that one more time?
I'll take it back.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, like, what do you prefer more? I think it's a pretty obvious answer, but do you prefer to work more on your own personal projects versus working for somebody else, or like what's the balance even financially? Like where do you see the line for
Got it. Okay, so I of course prefer to work on my personal projects, which I do have a personal project that's out. It's my first. I actually done this once and I loved it. It's my first passion project. It's called Two Black Women Love Black Women, and I produced it. I directed it, but I had an amazing team behind me. Of course I couldn't DP it and light it and sound, I had an amazing team behind me, but I felt comfortable producing and directing for myself. But on the other hand, I like producing for other people too, because I like the experience of taking something that was in their brain and making it come to life, and then being proud of the project. You know, I like that aspect, and I like connecting with the person too. I like digging deep within their brain, you know, because some people, they don't think it's possible. I just did a live performance with the artist, her first live performance ever, and she loved the whole thing, and she thought it was impossible. So I enjoy doing both. I like producing and directing for myself, and then I also like doing it for other people. And then, you know, I'm also getting paid to do it for other people too, so that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt either. So yeah, I like both, but for different reasons.
Let's talk about networking specifically to that point. Like you have, you know, I think especially with what you guys do over at Early Bird and for your extended network as well, you run with the people that are tight and the people you trust. And that's something that me and Nate, we just did an episode. That's something that we talk about specifically with my group of people that I run with is you have that master ability as a producer when you're pitching your project to be able to delegate out, or even when you're hired as a service, you have the ability to bring your team with you, right? How important is that to who you are and the product you'd like to put out?
That is the most important thing to me. Personally, on all of my sets, and you've been on one of them.
They're
great guy. Hire him. He's perfect. Having a good team creates the whole foundation of your project. And I keep preaching this, but also having a diverse team also creates a great project, because not only do we have to be diverse with the script and who's writing it, but the team who actually produces it, we need to be diverse in that too. So I always make sure that my team is super diverse, super family oriented. I would rather have someone that's super teachable and adaptable than someone who has all the connections in the world. Because then that just creates a really good team for me, you know? And that's so important. Like, I would tell anyone, you know? And on my sets too, I like to kind of have a family aspect. I know, like in Hollywood, they're more stern and you can't do this and you can't not on Produced by Ray's set. Okay, we like to have a good time where
it was a good time when I was there. Yeah,
we love
fun.
to have a good time because
you
know, if my producer isn't happy, if my DP isn't happy, then the project is probably going to be trash. You know, it will turn out trash. So one last thing, my motto is, I've adapted, is, you know, my sets is where we love to create dope content and like the people we do it with. So that's pretty much the family oriented set team that I like to establish for all my projects, no matter if it's mine or someone else's.
Right. No, I love it. And, you know, I'm thinking too, like how that applies to, you know, even steering back to like kind of the whole working for yourself topic. It is so important to have that network surrounding you and people that you trust, because you never know. Like we were talking earlier, there's scenarios that you don't understand that you need those people in.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to diversity of different viewpoints and like having the right amount of people on set for that sort of thing, and, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people. But I was also thinking about, and I think this is something that you could speak to specifically, one of the big misnomers I feel like of working for yourself or taking in new clients is the amount of problem solving that you have to do, which is pretty much the name of the film game. Like people don't even think about it. I think about it in post a lot. Like when I'm cutting a project, I'm always like, I'm literally just trying to put out fires the whole time.
Because everyone's like, fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
And then you're like, oh no, editor. Please.
Poor editor.
Please. I know, spare me. No, but like how I think this is a really, like, thinking about the niche and the group this is going to, I think we need to be real about like problem solving. Like how important is that to your process? And like, can you speak to that specific nature of putting out fires? And
that is the name of the game, especially when you're producing. And honestly, before a big set, I literally will sit down and I think of everything that could go wrong. And I'm planning for everything that could go wrong. That way, when I'm on set and then stuff that I didn't even plan for, all I have to do is worry about that. So I think pre-production is very important when it comes to putting out fires, you know? So you're trying to plan for, oh my gosh, what if the battery goes dead? And do we have enough plugs? Do we have enough electricity? So I think that's the name of the game. Like you said, no one thinks about that, you know, especially not our lovely EPs. They don't think about that at all. So yeah, putting out fires is the name of the game, but my solution for that is definitely pre-production, spending a lot of time planning as a producer and looking forward. So
that's so important. Like that's another misnomer I feel like, is the amount of time you put in pre affects everything. It
Oh,
really
yes.
does. Like one of my big, I kind of stake my name like on this is I really am huge on processes when it comes to even just in post-production, but like when it comes to actual file management, when it comes to planning details, you have to, like you said, so specific to the point where you've seen the scenario play out in your head the wrong way before you see it the right way. And then you start to, budget in or figure out ways to create loopholes to support that. And I think another big one that you could talk about is like what you mentioned earlier is on the post side, like how much revisions and like how many things you have to think about in post that you never think about when you're on set, right? And you realize you shot it wrong, or you realize like, oh my gosh, like why didn't I think of that before? And it's like all these pieces of the puzzle that you just keep carving away, right? We're craftsmen. We keep carving away at whatever we're creating. And how important is like when you think produced by Ray, like your company, and you're putting yourself out there like that, like what are some of the things that you really think quality wise you offer that are different than other people in the game? I think that's your why, right? That's what I'm talking about. What is your why?
So like I said, my why is really just making sure the stories that people encounter are out there, is a visual accurate representation. And I think the most important thing that I like people to walk away with, I just like to make sure that anybody who I come encounter with feels inspired and inspired to create more when they leave my set, and that's the things that's what I like to believe Produced by Ray is about, so those are pretty much my two things. Yeah,
That's awesome. How something I was thinking about that kind of goes with this subject too is like, if you're making a move out of, let's say you have enough work to where you're able to just go full time, which is awesome, right? Like
let's manifest that.
I hope I get there.
Throw it out into the universe.
Maybe it'll happen.
I will be full time by March.
Yeah,
making 6 figures.
Let's do it.
I had to plug that into the universe, so it comes true.
And let it reverberate around the room. Yeah,
Amen.
Dude. No, but like when you're thinking about making the move, I think one thing that I've tried to really do, and I was gonna like see what you thought about it, is the mentorship aspect is super important, right? And the people that you've grown up around, or the people that know you best, like in your opinion, like how important is it to have a network of mentors that kind of help shape you, even if they're not in the creative realm? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's so important. Mentorship. I cannot preach that enough. You know what? And I'm actually having a hard time finding a mentor for myself.
Hit up Ray. If anybody knows.
Please send them my way. Mentorship is so important. And you know what? Like I said, I've had an issue finding mentors, but I've been applying to like a lot. Like I see a lot of women that are killing it. Oh, they're killing it. And I'm jumping in their DMs like, what's up? Hi. Like, can I follow you? But because I've had an issue with mentorship, I've decided to be a mentor, so I've decided to take a few people under my wings and mentor them and teach them what I know. But I'm still trying to find someone to mentor me. And I have some producers that I look up to, that I'm like, oh my God, their work is fire. And I can ask them questions, but I haven't been able to establish that set connection as a stamp mentor. But like I said, because I cannot find that and it's hard for me, I've decided to be one. So, because I think that no matter which stage you're in when it comes to film, you can always teach somebody, you don't have to be rocket science and producing all these projects in order to be a mentor to someone. But mentorship is so important, no matter if they're in the film industry or outside of it.
And you're also talking perspectives. That's a big drive of like what I want this specific series to be about is perspectives. I don't want to be too dogmatic about anything because personally I'm still figuring out myself, right?
Yes.
And every day we're learning.
Every day you're learning.
And you're always learning. You're always looking around you. And I think one thing that I would love to touch on, something personally, and I'll share this in my experience, is the importance of, we were talking network a little bit earlier and how that plays into growing your clientele, growing who you're working with and who you're putting yourself around. I think something that I know do really, really well is, and something my strategy is, anytime I think of somebody that I care about or somebody that I want to reach out to, I just message them. Even if it falls upon dead ears and they never get back. The point being is that you're always putting yourself out there and you're always in the room, right? It doesn't matter if somebody actually responds, but you put yourself there so that people know that you exist, and you put yourself out into orbit, like you were even just saying a minute ago. You speak things into existence. So how important is that for you? And like, do you have a strategy that you kind of do that for? Or is it just genuine?
I just try. I like genuine growth. I do put myself out there, and it takes an incredible amount of vulnerability to throw yourself out there. It really does, because you might message this person and you'll see red. I'd rather see like no response than like red.
I turn it off for that reason. I won't do it to anybody. I don't like it. Yeah.
Yes. So, like I was saying, I think I forgot the question. Sorry, Evan.
No, just like genuine, creating your network, reaching out to people.
There we go. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's very important to establish genuine relationships. Like with me and you, I feel like our connection was very genuine. Mm-hmm. We ended up on the set together, and then the rest was history. And I like the way that feels, because people can tell if you're introducing yourself like, hello, I'm a producer and I do this and I do that. That's not like, I don't want to be with anyone like that. Like, so I like the fact of genuine and horizontal networking.
Yes. And I think we should talk about that specifically, like get a little more specific on that. Mm-hmm. The reason that you're always in the DMs or you're always texting when you're thinking about somebody, mm-hmm. in my book is, and you probably could relate to this, is you never know who somebody knows, right? It's that third or second party connection, I guess. Second party connection where you really like, for example, the way we met was through our friend Ryan, who was doing a music video, and you and I had never met before. I'd never met Sri before, other people that are going to come on this show. Mm-hmm. And that worked out into a situation where now potentially we'll work together more in the future.
For sure.
Right? Like,
for sure.
People don't really, I think, it's not that people don't think about it, but I think people in our age category sometimes are afraid to reach out. Mm-hmm. But I think you and I could say that we're afraid to reach out, especially to people that we look up to, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
It's hard sometimes
mm-hmm.
to put yourself out there.
It is.
But like, what's your perspective on like, being specific and intentional with building those kind of second and third party connections?
Yeah. If I could just touch on one thing too, that you said, you made a great point in saying that you never know who someone else knows. You never know. Mm-mm. Which is why, to me, I always treat everyone good. Mm-hmm. Not because morally I feel like I'm a good person in that aspect, but you never know. You always want to leave a good lasting impression on everyone you meet, because they might not remember your name, but people always remember how you make them feel. So that's one of my like key things in my life. You don't know Ray, produced by Ray, but you're always gonna remember how they make you feel. So that's important you never know what's the question? You never
it's okay.
know who knows who. So you just want to be kind to everyone. And then your second question was just
like how important, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but like the mutual thing. People don't, like, you underestimate how powerful it is. Every time I do. Uh-huh. Like, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. It's I don't know. I just went blank. I'm so sorry. I had so much coffee.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but like I'll just pick it up. Mutuals are really, really important. And you never know. They'll always have the ability. And I think this actually goes with aggressive outreach too. Like, you will always have the ability to reach out to people that you don't know, and mm-hmm. potential that somebody will reach out to you. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, I think a lot of people have heard your name. And that's the important thing about building your micro community. And I'm plugging my own community, Discord. Check it out.
There you
go. We're growing a cool space. But I think it's important to really do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm seriously, like, recently on my phone, like, all day long. And same with you. Like, mm-hmm. Anytime I think of somebody, I'm reaching out. And, I think that's going to be really key for a lot of people. And if it's scaring you, like if it's something that you haven't done before, then you should.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Yeah,
definitely. And
just do it.
It's also important to make sure you're horizontally reaching out as mm-hmm. well. You
want to explain that just in case nobody knows what that means? Yeah.
Yes. So I got this term from Issa Rae. I look up to Issa Rae a lot. And she basically had a talk on how important it is to not try to get to like the CEOs, like go straight to the top. Mm-hmm. You have such a really broad network with the people that are on your level. And the good thing about that is when you horizontally network, which example is like me and you, mm-hmm. we horizontally network. Whatever I do, I'm going to pull you up. So mm-hmm. you don't know who's the next who, you don't know who that is. So reaching out into your own everyone that's on your level is super important, not just trying to DM Ava or, of course,
Right.
shoot your
Sure.
shot, but put more energy into reaching out to people that are on your level, because you just never know who's the next person, so I think that's super important too.
And do your research. That's
Yes.
the other thing, is if you're going to come, this is another angle to this, but yes, be open to reaching out to literally anybody and shoot your shot, but do your research and read people. Like you said, be humble and present yourself in a way that's acceptable to other people.
Exactly.
Not, if you're going to reach out to somebody huge, I would hope that if you reach out to their publicist or whatever, that you have something really good for them.
Yes.
Instead of just, hey, I'm out,
Be prepared.
Yeah. I'm going to change the business. That's a hard one, because people say that, and it's fine. I get it.
That's funny.
But humility, right? The point is you present yourself in a way that's professional and acceptable, and
and be prepared too. I think that a good tactic when reaching out to these people, if you're gonna hop in someone's DMs, also do a link to your reel. You can provide them a link to your resume. Make it as easy as possible, because these people are busy. Even horizontally networking, you can do these things too. As you're saying, hey, I would love to work with you. Here's an example of some of my work that might actually help you get further than just saying, hey, I want to join the team. End of the day, so.
Yeah, and it makes those so I say DMs because so much of it's done over text DM, but even emails, when you think of, it's even a matter of in your email outreach, you're tying in your mutuals, you're reminding them, even if they know, you are reminding them oh, I know these people, just as a reminder.
They know me.
They know me. We're friends,
Yeah.
That helped a lot initially when I started 1 in 20 show and was starting to get different named guests that I didn't even know before. And I think that was really cool, it was mutuals. I kept following a mutual thread, even on Instagram, followed by. It's easy to find, and at least they can pull you up and see that you do follow somebody that you know, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you use that. Do you?
I look at those. I'm like, oh, they follow this person. Let me ask this person how it was working with them before I put them on my team. So that's
yeah, it's not that hard, but going back even further to the top, when you're thinking about moving out and potentially doing, full-time film, whatever it is, that you're tapping into that network, but you're also using your head and you're thinking about your approach. And I would argue, I'm a huge advocate for this. When I was in a really intensive startup environment, I just exited that, but I was doing so much content that I was drowning, but still, and you could probably relate to this, when you have your full 40 and you put in an extra 40 on the side, it's because you love the crap out of it.
Exactly.
So build that, right?
Exactly.
Build that while you can, and eventually if the big clients start coming in and you can make the switch, do it. That's my perspective. I don't know what you think about that, but
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. For me, when I have this full-time gig that I'm doing, I call it, when people
I call it
try
gigs all the time.
when people
Full-time
try.
job.
One thing I stopped doing was downplaying what I do as a researcher, because I like my job. I like it, but I love
That's
producing. So
fascinating,
I call it my base job.
Yeah.
My base job. So when I do finish my base job, and then I have to kick it into third gear, I'm usually doing production stuff either really early in the morning or really late at night. People ask me, when do you sleep? I don't know. I'm figuring it out.
I know.
That's why I have the
it's
jitters.
that 1 a.m.
Exactly.
haze, yeah.
Yeah, so you're kicking after your full-time job, you're also doing your passionate job. You have to kick it into third gear, and you have to really, because you love that, you have to find some motivation to keep going. So that's so important for me.
And I think there's a level to that too, where, a lot of creative minds are so I don't want to go this direction, but I think a lot of creative minds are very underrepresented in the job market because we're the unicorns of, I still don't want to go this way either, but an education space that often wants to just fit us into molds, right? And I think creative minds don't know where they fit in that, because we love a million different things. Like you say, you're even on the science side of your life, but you also have a creative side that you push and you're trying to create. But creatives are very, I feel underrepresented in those areas, and thus a great reason for having some sort of a micro community or people that you can, connect with.
Yep.
But that is really, really important. People don't, I think that's very underestimated how, for how much of a a share that entertainment has in like the gross, the GDP,
Yeah.
you would never think that we would be having such a hard time finding work or like we said, good, fast, cheap. Like, why aren't people, paying for it?
Yes. Why aren't people paying for it? Yep, exactly.
But yeah, anyway, that space is very interesting. I just got going on that. But I think maybe one thing you could touch on specifically is, like you have a balance, right? Let's just put this out there again. You've got your full 40, then you've got your 40 that you do on the side. So you're up to 80, but then you also have a kid and you have your family. And that's something that people don't think about. So another reason why creative minds are so, can be so brilliant if you can handle it correctly. Like, what goes into like the to die for thing about this craft? Like, would you say that like straight out that you would totally die for doing that kind of thing? Or is family more important? You see, that's what I'm saying. It's like people, I think, get it misconstrued. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Definitely family is definitely top tier. Family tops it all. But I don't know if I'm kind of swinging from your question, but I will say a lot of people always ask me, how do you do it? And I think it's so important for people who are kind of on the fence from jumping to full-time production and they have their base job. I think that planning is always important, utilizing your time and also creating those breaks for yourself. You have to, just like you're putting on your calendar, I need to do this shot list. I need to log into this app. You also need to put in your calendar, I need to take a break. I need to take a mental break because I've worked myself into the ground before, which led me to take 2 months off of production. I said, I'm not touching it. No one called me. And that's because I didn't include those breaks in my life. So, with people handling their base job and their passion job and life and family and social, you have to be social. Planning is important, but also planning those breaks. Because I feel like in today's society, we're always talking about the grind. But it's not healthy. Your health should be your first priority because, your body is the only vessel you have in this world. So mental breaks, help your body. So you have to plan. 100%. You have to plan for those things. So
health is important. Don't forget your health.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
Health is truly wealth,
Really is.
And I just, because I was in this grind till you can't stop. Because I have a master's. I have a master's in business, and I'm 26. I think I got my master's when I was 23.
Wow.
Yeah. I had my master's about 3 years now. Yeah. And before then, I was like, grind, don't sleep. Like, no, that's not how we're going to live. And when I had a child, that definitely slowed me down a lot. Of course, yeah. But, just really please putting those breaks into your life is very important. Very important.
That's awesome. Well, we packed a lot. If you can believe it, we're already like bucking up against the time. So I want to land the plane. I hope that is helpful because that's very like, I feel like there's a lot of information in there and I hope that's really helpful for everybody. But plug yourself. Yes. Time for you to plug yourself.
I'm kind of bad at this.
Just whatever. We'll throw up your lower thirds on there.
Sounds good. Okay, guys. So my name is Ray. Produced by Ray is what I go by. I am a producer with some director credits, but I like to focus on producing. I'm also a part of Early Bird TV. We drop a lot of content, more short documentaries type of things, but also I do my own thing, Produced by Ray, which is my freelance side, where I tend to do whatever I want to do.
That's great.
Whatever I want to do. But yeah, so, I am here. I love connecting with women. I'm trying to give a bigger voice to women in the industry. So if you are a woman,
we need it.
Yes. Yeah. If you're a woman and you're interested in just connecting with women, please let me know. Hit me up at Produced by Ray and I will get back to you.
Sweet. We got the lower thirds coming up and everything. There you go. Thank you so much for being on, Ray. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
It's very, very special, I think, for a lot of people to hear that. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and join the community. This is a growing thread that we're just building on Discord. It's a very special spot, I think, for a lot of people to connect, a lot of like-minded creatives. COVID's been really isolating, so I hope that a lot of you can really utilize that. And I'll link that below. And then be sure to check out our Patreon. We're starting to build support roles, even just for $1 a month. You could join in and be a part of that. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this show. Be sure to check in on the discussion on Discord and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you, Ray, for being a part of it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.